Well, Problem Gambling Awareness Week begins on Sunday and runs through next week. Julie Hines is a prevention specialist with Lane County, and Michelle Tantriella-modell is, she does prevention. She says, I do prevention. She's the director of the Emergence Gambling Treatment Program. Thank you both for stopping by.
Thanks for having us.
Julie, let's start with you. How big of a problem is gambling in our area?
Well, 1 in 37 Oregonians have a problem with gambling, so it's about 3% of the population.
You're kidding me.
No, and you know, that doesn't count all the people that affect around them.
Right.
They affect about 6 to 12 other people around them.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Michelle, when this all started, we were hearing how great this would be for economic development in the state. You know, the lottery went in, the casinos went in.
Right.
So is that still the thought process here?
Well, we know it brings in revenue for the state, but what's not being seen is the social costs that gambling costs, and it's about $468 million.
Oh my
so the cost to the problem of pathological gambling and to society is huge.
Let me just clarify this. Isn't part of the gambling laws here, the legalization of gambling here, doesn't some of the money from the gambling go into prevention?
It goes
treatment, right.
1% of the lottery proceeds are directed for treatment and prevention, and the Oregon Gambling Helpline.
Okay. So where are the biggest problems, Julie?
Well, you know, I think one of the key things about gambling is that it's a hidden addiction. Oftentimes, its signs are very similar to other addictions and often mental health issues. So people may have an underlying alcohol or drug problem, also have a problem with gambling, and we just don't pick that up in the community. We don't see it happening, and so gamblers, when they get into addiction, have problems with crime. They have relationship problems. They have problems with their jobs, and often it leads to depression and, unfortunately, even suicide. Of the gamblers in treatment last year, about 1 in 10 had said that they had actually attempted suicide preceding treatment.
Wow, wow, that's pretty severe. Okay, so I went to the website, preventionlane.org, and there's part of that that's dedicated to youth gambling.
Right.
So it referred to a survey called Oregon Healthy Teens. What did you guys learn from that survey?
What we learned is really interesting, Shelley, because we learned that youth gambling is not sort of in a silo. Youth gambling behavior happens very frequently with alcohol use, with binge drinking, with marijuana use, with smoking, with sexual behavior, depression and suicidal attempts, and missing out on school. And so it's not in a silo. We see gambling very common, kind of going along with other problem behaviors, although parents don't see it as an issue. Often we see parents that just say stuff like, well, at least they're not out drinking, they're not out partying, they're just playing poker, it's not a big deal. And unfortunately, the studies that show that, you know, the earlier a teen or a youth starts to gamble, the more at risk they are to developing a problem later on.
Yeah. So one of the things that just stood out to me in just reading the brief study is that some people say they start at 10, the age of 10 gambling.
Right.
And you know, the mind isn't developed enough to understand the consequences.
Right, and well, it's like you were asking before the show, Shelley, about, you know, if kids bet each other on a beaver game, for example. You know, even if it's a $3 bet, it's really not a big deal. But unfortunately, what happens is if they take that into, say, starting to play online and playing for fun online, and then start into isolating themselves and getting into more of a serious behavior where they're spending money and they're playing video poker more and they're doing all these sorts of things, you know, that it can lead into some serious problems.
Yeah, I didn't realize how, you know, accessible computer gambling is to, you know, kids.
Right.
Okay, so we've got a minute left. There are ways to address, there are ways that you can read to address, like, some of the problems and what you're supposed to do.
So there's treatment available, and it's free for anyone who has a problem with gambling or a family member. And the things you want to look for if someone is spending more money than they intended. So as opposed to being responsible, going in and saying, I'm going to spend $20 and I'm going to spend an hour, but they're exceeding their limit, and they're doing it over and over and over again, there could be a problem. Or if they're concealing how much they're gambling to family members or loved ones or important people in their life, then there could be a problem with gambling.
Let's take a look at the websites, because they're on the screen. These are ways that you can address or learn more about it. Thank you so much. And these ribbons are available real quick.
Yeah, these are available in our offices. We also want to let folks know there's help available, free, confidential, 1-877-MY-LIMIT.